was once invited to a Hanukkah event at my daughter's school. I arrived and I saw that this room was set up in centers, and the parent and the child were to go from one center to the next doing art projects about Hanukkah. I actually loved the idea. It's a lot of fun. So I started with my daughter going from center to center. At what point, my daughter was busy coloring, and there was another mom sitting next to me, and her daughter was busy coloring, and we started to chat. And I had never met her before, so I asked her, what's your name? Where do you live? Where are you from? What do you do? And she said she was from Crown Heights. Now, I happen to know that there are a lot of Lubavitch Hasidim, otherwise known as Chabad, who live in Crown Heights. And so I asked her, are you Lubavitch? And she said yes. And I also happen to know that a lot of Lubavitch Hasidim, people who ascribe to the Lubavitch philosophy, have an ideology. And that is that they go on shlichus. They go to far out places in the world, and they teach people about Judaism. And this mission was established for them. And I asked her, probably impertinently, did you ever consider going on shlichus? Did you ever consider going to one of these places to teach about Judaism? And she said, yes, she did consider it. And then I asked her again, probably even more impertinently, are you sad that you're not doing that now? Do you miss that in your life? Clearly, you're not living in a far-flung community. You're living here in New Jersey. So is that something that's hard for you? Was it hard to give up on that dream? Are you sad that you are not going on shlichus? And she said to me, and her words really stuck with me until today. She said, what makes you think that I'm not on shlichus right now? What makes you think that I'm not actually doing this mission-driven work right at this moment? And I was taken aback. What does that mean? To be on a mission. We're sitting at a Hanukkah party. And I've been thinking about her words. This happened about 15 years ago, and I'm still thinking about it. Because what she taught me was that I was looking at things in the wrong way. In my mind, going on a mission, being mission-driven, meant traveling to a far-out place, meant having a platform to teach about Judaism. And she said no. Actually, what she took from her upbringing was that every person should be on a mission, no matter where they are. That each person should encounter other people, other circumstances with this ideology of bringing their mission into the world. This idea of being mission-driven is something that's really brought out by Pirkei Avot, by the ethics of the sages in chapter 4. And I'd like to read to you a little bit from that. Rabbi Yishmael beno Omer. So we're going to encounter Rabbi Yishmael, and he's going to teach us something. And this is what he said. Halomed al menat lilamed. If a person approaches Torah in order to teach it, a person learns the Torah and studies it with the idea that one day that person will be able to give it over to other people, to present it, to share it. Maspikin biado lilamod ulilamed. That person will have the opportunity both to learn it and to teach it. That person will hopefully be successful in their goal. However, says Rabbi Yishmael, there's a second person. V'halomed al menat la'asot. But a person who learns in order to do, in order to practice, maspikin biado lilmod ulilamed lishmor v'la'asot. That person will be given the opportunity to learn and to teach like the first person, and also to keep and to do. Now, what's Rabbi Yishmael saying? Both people want to learn and to teach, but the second person, that's not their primary goal. Their primary goal is not to have a platform to teach Torah. Their primary goal is to do, is to practice, is to bring this Torah that they learn, to bring their values, to bring their ideology into the world. And because that is their goal, because they are mission-driven, because they are values-driven, they will also be given the opportunity to teach, but not in the formal way of the first person. They will be given the opportunity to teach by example. They will be given the opportunity for others to observe their practice and say, wow, that is something that I want to learn from. That is something that makes a difference to me. That's something that I observe and I want to emulate. And that, says Rabbi Yishmael, perhaps is a different way of teaching, not in front of a classroom, not on a stage, but amongst the people, with every encounter, bringing value, bringing mission into the world. And this reminds me of a second Mishnah from the same parak. And that Mishnah talks about the outcome of what it means to bring value and to bring mission into the world. And we encounter here someone named Ben Azai. Ben Azai Omer, this is Mishnah 2 in chapter 4. Haviratz lemitzvah kala uvarech min ha'avera. A person should run to an easy mitzvah, maybe a minor mitzvah, and flee from sin. Shemitzvah goreret mitzvah, because one mitzvah leads to another mitzvah. Va'avera goreret avera, and one sin leads to another sin. And then he continues, sheschar mitzvah mitzvah. The reward for a mitzvah is a mitzvah, uschar avera avera. And the reward, or we should say the consequence of a sin, is another sin. Let's break down what he's saying here. Why would he tell us to run to a minor mitzvah? Why point that out in the beginning? I think he's saying something very similar to what we read in our previous Mishnah, Rabbi Yishmael. When a person approaches life with this mission-driven sense, the sense of values, that I am going to bring my values into the world, then everything that they do expresses those values. It doesn't have to be on the grand stage of the world. It doesn't have to be on the grand scale of life. Even a minor mitzvah is an opportunity to do, to practice, to bring our values into the world. And then he continues and says, mitzvah, goreret mitzvah. One good deed, one positive encounter will lead to another positive encounter. Now, why is that? And I think the answer is that a person, as they do this, as they bring their values into their actions, as they encounter each situation and say, this is who I am. This is my authentic self. This is what I do because this is what I believe. Suddenly, there's a slight change that comes over them. They're a little bit different. They're stand a little straighter. They're a little more authentic. And then they see an opportunity that they didn't necessarily see before. They see another mitzvah. They see another opportunity to bring that authentic self to another opportunity, to another circumstance. And the same is true in the opposite way. Unfortunately, avera, goreret avera. One sin leads to another one. As a person squelches their authentic self, as they don't bring their values into the world, they change as well. And then there are other opportunities to make the same wrong choice or a slightly different one. And then the last part of the Mishnah is the idea that schar mitzvah, the reward for a mitzvah, is another mitzvah, or even is that mitzvah itself. Because what happens is, as a person changes, they become better. They become more authentic. They become more substantive. They bring more value into the world. And that itself feels good. It feels right. You're contributing. It's not about the afterlife. It's about the now life. Every opportunity, every encounter is a chance, is an opportunity to bring value into the world. And to really heighten this point, I'd like to look at a quote from Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. Now, Viktor Frankl is a very esteemed psychologist, the developer of the idea of psychology called logotherapy. And he formed a lot of his ideas and principles based on his experiences during the Holocaust in the concentration camps. And he looked around him and looked at how the people around him and himself were dealing with these horrible circumstances that they were in. And he writes and questions, what does it mean to have free will, to have freedom of the spirit inside a concentration camp that is so terribly restricted and such a horrible circumstance? I'd like to read you a little bit from his book, Man's Search for Meaning. Says Viktor Frankl, the experiences of camp life show that man does have a choice of action. There were enough examples, often of a heroic nature, which proved that apathy could be overcome, irritability suppressed. Man can preserve a vestige of spiritual freedom, of independence of mind, even in such terrible conditions of psychic and physical stress. Says Viktor Frankl, it is extremely difficult, but possible, that even in the concentration camps, a person can preserve their sense of value and their sense of meaning and bring that into their encounters, even under such circumstances. He continues, we who lived in concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in every and any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. This idea of spiritual freedom is the values and the missions that a person brings into the world. And says Viktor Frankl, I saw that in the concentration camps. Even in the concentration camps, I saw people walk through the huts and comfort others. What heroism, what strength that must have taken. That in these situations, in these circumstances, a person was still in tune with their values, still in tune with their mission. And that is this idea that both Ben Azai and Rabbi Yishmael, I think, are discussing, that a person has an opportunity in this world to embody their mission, not just to teach the Torah, but to embody the Torah, to do the Torah, and to take it from one step to the next, from opportunity to opportunity. And this is the idea that I learned from that mom sitting at the Hanukkah table while my daughter did an arts and crafts project. I was wrong to think that shlichus, that being mission-driven, only belonged in the mountains of Tibet. Mission-driven is now, she said. Mission-driven is my encounter with you. We're talking about our mission. And I think that we don't always think about the circumstances in our lives as providing opportunity to bring value into the world. But with this perspective of Pirkei Avot, I think we can see that it actually is. And with every decision that we make, with every encounter, we create our best selves. And with our best selves, we bring more and more value into the world.